Alright, I dug out all of the parts that I need for this. New thermostat, new thermostat housing. So we're going to have all sorts of new parts on this. Um, these are cheap. These wear out. They wear out and get corroded and pitted in here. I recommend doing both of these. If you want a good laugh, watch me do the first start in the van, bragging about how I can reuse everything because it was a new thermostat and year-old thermostat and water pump, but I don't know, sitting for a while definitely messed that one up. And after I got the van together, the thermostat decided to stick and not open, so then had to sit here fighting that. On a car or a truck, it's really not that big of a deal. In the van, it was a huge pain. So lesson learned. Gasket. Some of the gaskets come with like a sticking side. This one does not, so we're going to have to play with the RTV one more time. See if I can remember where I put it this time. Constantly doing that. But we'll do the same deal on this. We're going to RTV both sides of the gasket. Just enough to make it tacky. Not like the intake China walls where we're kind of loading it up pretty thick. This we just need a bit. And this one's going to get my hands real dirty. Freshly machined intake manifold. It's brand new. Brand new water pump housing. So both of these should actually be in pretty good shape. I got way too much RTV on here. Okay. And I'm going to set this down off to the side real quick. I'll explain that in a minute. I just need clean hands. Okay. Clean enough. Now, thermostat housing is going to sit on here like this. This one also has a plug here if you want to use that for anything. It does come with the insert to block it off as well. But this is going to sit on here like this. Thermostat housing. You got your spring side and this side. A lot of people like putting the spring side out. Logically, it seems like that might make sense. You do not want it that way. You want it to sit down in here like this. And here's your trick. Set that in there. Spring side's going to go back into the manifold. So when we have the spring side in the back, the reason I set that gasket down is because now, while this is in, I can take the gasket and lay it on here over the thermostat. Okay. What this does is locks that thermostat in place. This intake or thermostat housing I picked up at O'Reilly's. Cheap. Was not a lot of money. But it does have a nice little recess in there to line up everything on the thermostat to make sure that that's sitting where it's supposed to. Some of the other aftermarket ones don't. But this gasket will now actually hold this thermostat in place when we go to assemble. Let me set this down here. Wipe the RTV off my hands once again. Then we'll do the install. I don't have the old factory bolts for this, but they usually end up really rusty and crusty anyway, so we'll throw in new ones here. Super cool when you do that and just drop the washer all the way into the oil pan. I heard it go all the way and hit the pan, so that's going to be fun to dig out. Looks like we'll be pulling the pan off of this as well. Don't do that. That's not a good time. Luckily, there's no oil in the motor, so that shouldn't be that big of a deal. I'll put the bolt through first. Get one threaded before I push this in since the RTV is wet. I can't believe I just did that with the washer. That's what happens when I'm looking through the camera to see what's on film. I'm talking about things. I'm blaming you. but it's not that big of a deal. Pulling the oil pan kind of sucks, but I also do have that nice rubber gasket on there, so that makes it much easier. The bottom side of this really sucks. If you can do this before you put the intake manifold on, you got a lot more room than I do right now trying to get to this bolt behind the water pump. Grab a wrench. Aluminum to aluminum here, so you don't need to go crazy. Just snug. RTV will do the rest. And there's that. I'm going to thread this in here lightly, just so I don't lose it. And there you have it. Intake manifold's on. I'll put the block off plate on the top. I do need to get some carb studs for this. I like running the studs on anything that comes on and off regularly, but I can bolt this on now. I got a dummy distributor that I'll throw in the hole just to keep all that clean. Other than that, the motor is pretty much done. Got to do the valve covers at a later date. Again, I got to switch the balancer one more time as well. I did verify. I'm 90% certain this is not the balancer that I actually need. This one's going to go on there. So I'm going to have to do some remarking, and it's much easier to do that when I can see the push rods move the valves up and down to figure out where it's at timing-wise. Then I need to hit it with a cherry picker, lift the motor up, and put that back cam plug in. Other than that, we're pretty much ready to rock and roll. Well, I just opened up the oil pan to find that washer. Here's the culprit right here. Dropped it right down that distributor hole. Be careful when you're working on your motors, especially if that's not plugged. Tape over it or throw a distributor in just so you don't do what I did. However, it gave me a good chance to show you guys why I like running the more expensive one-piece molded gasket. In the video I did on the install, you'll see that I put a little bit of silicone at the very... God, I'm on a roll today. At the very corner here. I don't know how that glass just fell about 3 feet, landed on the corner of the engine stand and didn't shatter or crack. Very impressive. Buy those glasses. But anyway, I put a little bit of silicone just on the corner here and then right here. All that did was glue the gasket really well onto the actual block. I just undid all the bolts. I didn't have to pry on it. I just tapped it a couple times, pulled it off of the studs, and everything stays in place. You got a nice clean gasket ready to go. Obviously, it hasn't been run or used, but if I used the cork gaskets and had to RTV all of these seals, I would be replacing gaskets right now. In this case, having run the more expensive gasket, granted that's a stupid problem that most of you guys shouldn't have to deal with, but it is one of those advantages to doing that. Oops, if I put my stuff on the right way. But it was literally as simple as unbolting the oil pan, popping it off. No gasket surfaces to deal with, no cleanup just because it hasn't really been run. But just a quick update. Washer is out, in case anybody's wondering down the line when I go to start this. Washer's out. I shouldn't hear any metal clanking around on the inside of this motor. Take it easy, guys.